functions of blood. We need blood to transport oxygen and nutrients to different parts of the body, or different tissues or cells of the body. Okay? Blood is also important to form clots to prevent excessive blood loss in case there is an injury. You need blood cells and antibodies to fight infections, okay, whether it's bacterial infection, viral infection, and so forth. You need blood for that. You need blood to get rid of waste products, right? Right? To bring waste products to the kidneys and liver, where they can be filtered from the blood so your blood can remain clean. Blood is also needed to regulate body temperature by distributing the heat generated in metabolism throughout the entire body. And finally, on the list, we have hormones. Hormones in blood is transported or are transported to different parts of the body where they would regulate different aspects of metabolism. Okay, so these are the functions of blood. Make sure you learn them. Now, what are the components of mammalian blood? Well, blood has two major components. You have blood plasma and you have blood cells. Okay? Blood cells are red blood cells, white blood cells, and blood platelets. The abbreviation for them, we have RBCs. Let me just write that. Red blood cells is abbreviated as RBCs. Okay. RBCs. White blood cells, WBCs. Right? And sometimes blood platelets are just called platelets. Okay, there is no abbreviation for that. Okay. Now, the white blood cells, the two broad category of white blood cells, you have phagocytes and lymphocytes. We will look at what they do later on in this lesson. Okay. But red blood cells are also called erythrocytes. Okay, let me get a different ink. Okay, red blood cells, RBCs, they are also called erythrocytes. That's a more proper name for red blood cells. So in case you want to write it down, that's a spelling. All right. Erythrocytes. White blood cells are called leukocytes. Okay. I'll just put an R here. They are called leukocytes. LEUKOCYTES. Okay, leukocytes. And blood platelets, they are called thrombocytes. THROMBOCYTES. Okay, so these are the names for the different blood cells. So you have erythrocytes, leukocytes, and thrombocytes. Okay. And then white blood cells or leukocytes are made up of phagocytes or phagocytes and lymphocytes. Good. Now, if you use a centrifuge So in the middle of the screen here, we have a centrifuge. If you put a test tube or a tube containing blood inside of the centrifuge, so all these you're seeing here, all these are tubes that contain blood. And when the centrifuge spins at very high speed or velocity, it forces the heavier components of blood to sink to the base of the tube, okay? And the lighter components to rise to the top. So that is how the components of blood are separated through a process called centrifugation. Okay, centrifugation. IFUGATION. Okay, so you have centrifugation as the separation technique to separate the components of blood, okay, based on their relative density. Now, so in blood, as you can see here, the top portion is plasma, okay, and it consists 55% of total blood volume, okay. The blood cells would make up the next 45%, okay, that next 45%. So of that 45%, you have less than 1% being leukocytes, that would be white blood cells, and platelets. So that is what is in the middle here. Then you have the erythrocytes, okay, which is roughly 45%, okay. It would not be exactly 45%, but roughly, okay, if it was to be rounded off. So these are the components of blood, and that is what blood would look like, okay. As you see, yellow, white, red, that is what blood would look like after being placed in a centrifuge or after centrifugation, okay. So that is how we separate the components of blood. Good. So let's look at blood plasma. Blood plasma is that sticky yellowish liquid that contains 90% water. It contains 90% water and 10% substances that are carried in the solution. So if we go back to the previous slide, you would notice the thick yellow liquid at the top of the layers in the tube. Okay, this is plasma, right? It has 90% water and 10% of other substances that are dissolved in the water or carried in the water. And those substances are things like digested food, okay, sugars, amino acids, okay, which are the breakdown products of proteins. Yeah, vitamins, minerals, all those things are carried in plasma as digested food. We also have some excretory products like carbon dioxide, okay, from cellular respiration. Then we have urea, right, produced by deamination in the liver. So let me write that. Urea is obtained from deamination, DEA. Okay, deamination in the liver. Now, remember, our body cannot store proteins. So any excess protein in the diet or any excess amino acids in the diet would be taken to the liver for deamination, okay? Which is where the NH2 group of the protein, or the NH2 part of the protein, or the amino acid, as I should say, because the protein will be broken down to amino acids. Okay, but the NH2 group that is part of the structure of the protein, okay, 1 nitrogen and 2 hydrogen, that would be removed from the amino acid, okay, to form ammonia, okay, and urea. Okay, so these are nitrogenous waste products, and they have to be excreted, but they have to be carried to the blood, okay, in the blood to the kidneys for excretion. Okay, so all these are carried in blood plasma. We also have larger proteins that are carried in blood. Okay, larger proteins like antibodies, okay, that fight infection. Okay, later on we would see how the antibodies actually fight off the infection. Then we have hormones, which are transported in blood to other parts of the body to regulate different aspects of metabolism, right? So these are the substances that make up the 10% of plasma, okay? They all come together to make up 10% of plasma. The other 90% is water. Good? Now, all of these substances are transported in plasma from wherever they are made, okay, or wherever they enter the body to the cells or organs which form the destination, or to where they need to go. Okay, so I have a little flow chart here. Okay, we have plasma, and in plasma we have water. Remember, the water is 90%. Okay, 90%. And we have nutrients, proteins, gases, hormones, okay, and we have waste. Okay, so all these are transported in blood plasma. That's a component of blood that transports those substances. The gases would be things like carbon dioxide, CO2, and oxygen. Okay, these are the only two gases transported in blood: carbon dioxide and oxygen. Okay, the proteins would be things like antibodies, okay, that fight infection. Nutrients would be digested food like sugars, amino acids, vitamins, minerals. Okay, the hormones would be things like, okay, hormones that govern the female menstrual cycle, like estrogen. Okay, when we look at reproduction, you would see what estrogen does. Okay, we also have progesterone, testosterone. All these hormones we would come to later on in biology, but all of them are transported in blood, okay, in blood plasma. Then we also have waste products like urea, right, from deamination in the liver, that is transported in blood. Okay,